Jake Larkin wasn't the type to believe in luck. He had spent most of his life working the dusty, dangerous mines on planets humanity had just begun to explore. He'd seen a lot rare minerals, alien creatures, ancient ruins, but none of it had ever really excited him. He was just another miner, another cog in the machine. But today was different. Jake's team had been assigned to a small, uncharted planet in the far reaches of the galaxy. The planet, called Irex 3, was rich with minerals, but there had been strange energy readings coming from deep beneath its surface. No one knew what they'd find down there, but Jake had a feeling that it wasn't going to be business as usual. The crew had been drilling for hours, each blow of the drill hammering into the silence of the planet's core. Dust swirled around the cavern, and the faint hum of their equipment echoed in the distance. They were about 300 meters underground when they hit something solid, something that didn't feel like rock. The team gathered around as the drill came to a halt. "What the hell is that?" muttered Ben, the technician. His face was painted with confusion. The surface they had just broken through was smooth, metallic even. Jake, always the one to get the job done, moved forward, running a hand over the surface. It felt warm to the touch. "Ancient tech, maybe?" he asked. He didn't know what they were looking at, but his gut told him it was important. They began to carefully remove the earth and rock surrounding the object. As they worked, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up, a strange sensation creeping over him. It was almost as if the planet itself was aware of their presence. "Check this out!" shouted Sarah, the archaeologist on the team. She had uncovered a small opening, one that looked like it had been sealed for centuries. There were no markings, no symbols, just a plain, round door. Sarah placed her hand on it, and after a moment, the door slid open with a hiss. They all stepped back, ready for whatever lay beyond, but none of them were prepared for what they found. Inside, the chamber was vast, its walls lined with strange, glowing symbols that seemed to shift and pulse with energy. At the center of the room, sitting atop a pedestal, was a figure, an alien woman, perfectly preserved and resting in a crystalline chamber. Her skin was a deep, shimmering purple, and her features were sharp and regal. Her eyes, closed in eternal slumber, glowed faintly as though they were waiting for something. Jake couldn't help but stare. He had seen alien species before, but nothing like this. There was something about her that pulled at him. It wasn't just her beauty. It was something deeper, something ancient. "This is incredible," Sarah whispered. "This could be the discovery of the century." Ben nodded, still in awe. "We need to report this to command. This changes everything." Jake took a step closer, a mix of curiosity and caution in his movements. The chamber felt alive in a way he couldn't explain. As he reached out to touch the pedestal, a sudden sound interrupted him. A voice, soft and melodic, but unmistakably clear. "You should not be here." The voice sent a chill down Jake's spine. He jerked his hand back, and his eyes darted around the room, searching for the source. He saw nothing, but the voice continued, echoing in his mind. "You disturb the slumber of the ancients. Leave this place." Jake's heart pounded in his chest. "Did you guys hear that?" he asked. But the others were staring at the pedestal, unmoving. Before anyone could respond, the alien woman's eyes snapped open, glowing brightly with an intensity that was almost blinding. The room trembled, and the walls seemed to shift, the symbols changing before their eyes. Jake instinctively stepped back, but his curiosity kept him from running. He had to know what was going on. Who was this being? What was she? The alien woman slowly rose from her crystalline tomb, her movements fluid and graceful. She wasn't fully standing yet, but the energy in the room was growing more powerful by the second. "I am Sverna," she said, her voice now echoing in the room. "Guardian of the planet's secrets." Jake's mind raced. What are you?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Sverna looked at him, her glowing eyes locking onto his with an intensity that made his skin crawl. I am the last of my kind. And now, you have awakened me. There was a long pause, as if the weight of her words hung in the air. Jake swallowed hard, unsure of what to say. He had always prided himself on being able to handle any situation, but this was beyond anything he had ever imagined. I don't mean to disturb you, he said finally, trying to sound respectful. We were just doing our job. We didn't know. Sverna raised a hand, silencing him. Jake flinched at the intensity in her voice. There was something about her presence that made him feel small, insignificant, but at the same time, he felt drawn to her, as though there was some deep, unspoken connection between them. Why me? He asked, his voice quieter now. Sverna's gaze softened, though it still held an undeniable power. You are different. I sense your strength, your resilience. Jake blinked, taken aback. What do you mean? Different? Sverna stepped closer, her movements slow but sure. You humans. You are unpredictable. You are capable of more than even you understand. That is why I accepted your words. Jake furrowed his brow. Accepted my words? What do you mean? The alien woman tilted her head slightly, almost as if she were studying him. You said I would make a cute wife. Jake's eyes widened. He hadn't expected her to bring that up. It had been a joke, a silly comment he had made in passing, and now it seemed to have triggered something deep within her. Her voice dropped to a whisper, her words carrying weight. The room seemed to go silent, the energy pulsing around them. Jake's mind scrambled to make sense of her words. What had he gotten himself into? Before he could respond, Sverna took a step back, her eyes narrowing as she looked at the team behind him. You are not alone, human. You will face challenges here, challenges that will test you in ways you cannot yet understand. Jake stood frozen, unsure of what to say or do. He wasn't sure what to make of this alien woman, or the strange bond that seemed to be forming between them. But one thing was clear. Their lives were about to change forever. Jake Larkin couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted inside him. After his strange encounter with Sverna, he wasn't sure if he was hallucinating, if it was all some weird dream, or if he had actually woken something deep inside of himself. But the moment her words hit him, I accept, he knew his life had changed forever. He stood in the alien chamber, still processing everything. The rest of the team was staring at him, their expressions a mix of confusion and awe, as though they'd just witnessed something beyond comprehension. But all Jake could think about was the eerie calmness in Sverna's eyes, and the sense of power she held, as if the entire planet responded to her. Jake, what just happened? Sarah asked, stepping closer. She had been the first to speak after the silence had fallen, her voice trembling with both excitement and fear. Jake took a deep breath. I don't know. But she's not like anything we've ever seen before. His voice was barely above a whisper. He still wasn't sure what to make of her acceptance of his joke. What did she mean by it? And why did it feel so significant? Sverna's eyes remained locked on him, and for a moment, Jake wondered if she could read his thoughts. It felt like she could. Human, Sverna spoke, her voice calm but resonating with an unmistakable power. You've awoken more than just me. The energy of this planet is alive, and now it is responding to your presence. You have much to learn. The team exchanged nervous glances. Ben, the technician, stepped forward cautiously. What do you mean, responding to us? This planet, this structure, it's ancient. It's not supposed to be alive. Sverna's eyes flashed with a strange light. Everything is alive. You cannot see it, but this place is tied to the very heartbeat of the universe. When you humans arrived, you brought with you something new, something different. She turned her gaze to Jake. You, especially. Jake could feel the weight of her words hanging in the air. It was as though the room was alive with energy, swirling and pulsing around him. It made his skin tingle, and he could feel a strange warmth building in his chest. The more he focused, the more he could sense it, this connection between him and the planet's energy. It was subtle, yet undeniable. "Whatever you're feeling, you need to be careful," Sarah said, her voice shaky. "This isn't just some ancient artifact. This is powerful stuff. Who knows what's really down here?" Jake nodded, but he couldn't ignore the pull, the undeniable force calling to him. It was as if the planet itself was alive, and it wanted him to unlock its secrets. And maybe Sverna was right. Maybe he was the key. "We need to leave. We don't know what we're dealing with here," Ben urged. But Sverna shook her head. "Leaving is not an option. The energy you've disturbed will not allow you to leave without facing its consequences. AMARD. The energy people see or so. The censure RBDO." Jake felt the ground tremble beneath him, a deep rumble that seemed to come from within the planet itself. The symbols on the walls began to glow brighter, pulsing in a rhythm that echoed in his chest. Something was awakening, and it wasn't just Sverna. Suddenly, a flash of light blinded them all. Jake shielded his eyes, his heart racing. The air grew thick, charged with electricity, and the hum of energy intensified. When the light faded, the room was different. The walls were no longer simply covered in symbols. They were alive, shifting, changing, like they had minds of their own. "I've warned you," Sverna said, her voice steady but filled with an unspoken urgency. "The planet does not forgive trespassers." Before Jake could react, the walls of the chamber began to move, as though they were alive. The ground cracked, and strange glowing tendrils snaked from the earth, wrapping around everything in sight. Jake stumbled back, panic creeping into his mind. The tendrils seemed to react to his presence, their glowing tendrils following his every movement. It was as if they were alive, aware of him. "Get back!" Jake shouted to the team, but his voice was drowned out by the sound of the ground shaking and the intense energy building. Sverna stepped forward, her form glowing with an ethereal light. "Stay close to me. You are not prepared to face what is coming." As the team huddled around her, Jake felt the energy surge again. Only this time, it was inside him. The warmth that had been building in his chest exploded outward. His hands tingled with power, and for a moment, it felt like his very bones were vibrating. He looked at his hands in awe. There was something happening to him, something that he couldn't explain. Something human, but different. "You feel it, don't you?" Sverna asked, her voice calm, yet filled with an undeniable power. "The energy of the planet is awakening within you. The bond between us is not just physical. It is deeper, older, and now, it calls to you." Jake nodded, though he was still trying to make sense of it all. "What am I supposed to do?" Sverna's expression softened. "You must learn to control it. The planet's power is not easily harnessed, but it is yours to wield if you can master it. It will not be easy, but if you are to survive, you must accept your place here." Jake took a deep breath, trying to focus through the chaos. The tendrils of energy writhed in the air, and the ground continued to tremble. The entire planet seemed alive, and it was calling to him. The team stared at him, waiting for his next move. Ben's voice was filled with fear. "Jake, this is insane. We need to get out of here now." But Jake could feel it, the energy. It wasn't just the planet. It was him. The power was growing inside him, responding to his every thought, every emotion. It was as though his humanity was blending with something ancient, something beyond comprehension. "I can't just leave," Jake said, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. "This is something I have to do." Sverna nodded in approval, though her eyes never left him. "Then you must choose. The energy within you will either break you or make you stronger. You cannot control it until you accept it. Jake's heart pounded in his chest as he closed his eyes and focused. He could feel the planet's pulse, a rhythm that matched his own. It was as if his very essence was connected to it. He reached out, and the energy responded, flowing through him like a current. He focused on it, tried to understand it, and suddenly, the power exploded outward, a wave of energy that shattered the tendrils around them. The ground stopped shaking. The walls stopped shifting. The room went silent. For a moment, there was only Jake, standing amidst the chaos, breathing heavily, the energy still swirling inside him. Sverna stepped forward, her gaze steady and approving. You have done it. The first step is complete. Jake's heart was still racing, but he felt a strange calm wash over him. The energy was still there, thrumming within him, but now, it felt like a part of him. He wasn't sure what it all meant yet, but one thing was clear. Whatever was coming next, he was ready. Jake stood in the heart of the ancient chamber, his chest heaving with the aftershocks of the energy he had just unleashed. The planet seemed to breathe with him now, the pulse of its energy syncing with his every heartbeat. He wasn't sure what had just happened, but one thing was clear. The power inside him was real, and it was growing stronger. Sverna watched him carefully, her sharp eyes never leaving him for a second. You have made progress, she said, her voice calm, but heavy with meaning. But you are not yet ready. Jake wiped the sweat from his forehead, feeling the weight of her words settle over him. He hadn't expected this to be easy, but the force inside him was both exhilarating and terrifying. What do I need to do to be ready? He asked, his voice firm despite the uncertainty bubbling inside him. Sverna stepped closer, her gaze softening. You must learn control. The energy of the planet responds to your will, but it also demands respect. If you do not learn to master it, it will consume you. Jake nodded. He understood the stakes now. This wasn't just about surviving anymore. It was about mastering something that could change everything. Not just for him, but for the entire galaxy. The power of this planet was something no one could underestimate. But as much as he wanted to prove himself, a new fear began to creep in. The power was tempting, yes, but it felt dangerous, unpredictable. How do I control it? He asked, his voice a little shakier than he wanted it to be. Sverna's eyes locked onto his. You must first accept it fully. Only when you accept the connection between yourself and the planet will you be able to command the energy without being overwhelmed by it. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. He had already accepted something he hadn't fully understood: his connection to Sverna, to the planet. But now, it seemed like that acceptance was just the beginning. The air in the room crackled, and the walls began to shift again, their glowing symbols reacting to the growing tension. Jake could feel the power swirling beneath his feet, rushing through the chamber like a living thing. It was responding to his thoughts, his emotions. Suddenly, there was a loud, metallic clang from behind him. Jake spun around, instinctively reaching for the energy within him. The ground trembled as a massive portal opened on the far side of the chamber, revealing a group of alien soldiers in sleek, dark armor. Their eyes glowed with a cold, malevolent light. Sverna's expression hardened. They've come. Jake's heart skipped a beat. These were no ordinary soldiers. These were elite agents of the Galactic Council. The same group that had been watching humanity's expansion into the galaxy with growing concern. The same group that had threatened to destroy everything if humanity got too powerful. What do they want? Jake asked, his voice steady despite the fear that gripped him. Sverna didn't hesitate. They want the power you now possess. The Galactic Council will stop at nothing to control the energy of this planet, and they will kill anyone who stands in their way. Jake's hands tightened into fists. He had known that there would be consequences for disturbing this ancient place, but he hadn't realized how soon they would come. The Council's agents were here now, and they weren't interested in negotiating. Then we fight, Jake said, his voice growing stronger. Sverna's eyes glinted with approval. "If you are ready." Jake looked around at his team, who were still recovering from the shock of everything that had happened. Ben, Sarah, and the others were standing together, their faces pale and filled with fear. They didn't know what to do. They had come here as explorers, not soldiers. But Jake had no time to explain. He reached out, calling on the energy within him. The power surged through his veins, and for the first time, he felt the true depth of his connection to the planet. The energy responded to him, wrapping around him like a protective shield. The soldiers moved forward, their weapons raised. But Jake wasn't about to back down. He stepped forward, feeling the power course through him, his body humming with the energy of the planet. "Stay back," Jake shouted at his team. "Get to cover." Sverna moved swiftly to his side, her own energy crackling in the air around her. "Stay focused," she warned him. "This is just the beginning." The soldiers opened fire, their weapons emitting high-pitched whines as they shot streams of energy at them. Jake raised his hand, and the energy of the planet responded instantly. With a forceful push, he sent a shockwave rippling through the chamber, knocking the soldiers back and sending their weapons flying. They recovered quickly, but Jake didn't wait for them to regroup. He called on the energy again, directing it into the ground beneath his feet. The earth trembled, and jagged rocks shot upward, creating a barrier between him and the council's soldiers. But the soldiers didn't back down. They were trained for this. They charged forward, their armor gleaming in the dim light of the chamber. Sverna stepped forward, her eyes blazing with intensity. "Do not underestimate them," she said. "The council's forces are more than just soldiers. They have mastered the art of combat, with energy." Jake didn't have time to process her words. One of the soldiers leaped over the barrier, landing in front of him. Jake instinctively raised his hand to defend himself. But the soldier was faster, striking him with a powerful blast of energy. Jake staggered back, his body buzzing with pain. He had never felt anything like this before. The energy of the planet inside him reacted to the attack, pushing against the pain, trying to heal him. But the soldier wasn't done. He advanced again, his weapon crackling with deadly energy. "Jake, focus!" Sverna shouted. Jake took a deep breath, summoning the power once again. This time, he reached deeper, tapping into the core of the planet's energy. It surged through him, filling every inch of his body with strength. With a roar, he released a blast of energy so powerful, it sent the soldier flying across the room. The chamber shook violently, and the portal behind them flickered as more soldiers began to emerge. Jake knew they couldn't keep this up for long. They needed to end this quickly, or they would be overwhelmed. "I can't keep up with this," Ben shouted, his voice strained. "We need to get out of here." "No," Jake said, his voice filled with determination. "We're not leaving until we stop them." Sverna nodded. "Then we must make a choice, human. The energy you control is not just a weapon. It is the key to saving this planet and the key to ending this war. If you choose to use it fully, you will defeat them, but it will come at a cost." Jake looked at her, his heart pounding. "What cost?" Sverna's gaze softened. "If you give in completely to the energy, you risk losing yourself. You will become one with the planet, and you may never return to who you were." Jake's mind raced. The choice was clear, but it wasn't easy. He had to choose between keeping his humanity and saving the planet, or fully embracing the energy, and possibly losing everything he had ever known. But as he looked at the soldiers advancing, as he saw the fear in his team's eyes, he knew what he had to do. With a deep breath, Jake reached into the core of the planet's energy and let go. The power surged through him like a tidal wave, overwhelming him at first. He felt himself expanding, becoming something more than human. The energy flowed through every cell in his body, and for a moment, he couldn't tell where he ended and the planet began. The soldiers froze, their faces filled with confusion and fear. The power Jake had unleashed was unlike anything they had ever seen. Jake raised his hand, and the air crackled with the intensity of the energy around him. With a single motion, he sent a pulse of energy so powerful it disintegrated the soldiers' weapons and sent them sprawling to the ground. The battle was over. The chamber fell silent, the energy around them slowly dissipating. Jake stood there, breathing heavily, his body humming with power. He had done it. He had made the choice. And now, the planet's fate, his fate was sealed. Sverna stood beside him, her expression unreadable. "You have done it, human," she said, her voice filled with quiet admiration. "You have mastered the energy. You are now the guardian of this planet." Jake's heart raced as he looked around at the remnants of the battle. He wasn't sure what came next, but one thing was certain: he had changed. The galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again, and neither would he.